So by now, the IWI Mafteah and the Mossberg 990 Aftershock have made big splashes in the firearms industry. These are both semi-auto 12-gauge firearms with 14-inch barrels and bird's head style grips. Now, I got to shoot both of them last week at the Athlon Outdoors Rendezvous in beautiful Wyoming. I also got to sit down with both Mossberg and IWI and talk about the guns and shoot them a lot, like way more than most trade shows I go to, which often limit you to like 5 to 6 rounds at most. Now, at this event, I had 20 minutes with each gun, and I got to shoot pretty much as I wanted. I fired at least 50 rounds through each gun, if not more, and I got a good, decent first impression of each. Now, this isn't a side-by-side comparison necessarily, and this isn't a full review because, 50 rounds is just 50 rounds. However, I do have some thoughts on both guns, and I'm excited to see both. I do plan on acquiring both firearms and hopefully having a review of each on my channel here. So let's start with the 990 Aftershock, which was probably the gun I've wanted to see Mossberg make ever since they introduced the 590 Shockwave. So right off the bat, this is not a 940 or 930 system configured into a pistol grip only model. Those guns had a buffer that extends down into the stock, and Mossberg wasn't able to make them into Raptor's head grips. So instead, they made a completely new shotgun in the form of the 990 Aftershock. Now, Mossberg uses the 9 to signify semi-auto, and I believe they took the 90 from 590 because it's also related to the Mossberg 590. This is a gas-operated gun with the entire gas system sits under the forend. Now, a quick glance at the gun shows you that it does share some controls with the 940, mostly the enlarged controls that are being featured on the Pro Tactical models. This includes a huge charging handle, a huge bolt release, and a really, really big safety, which is a nice redesign from the classic Mossberg Tang safety. The 990 Aftershock is also apparently compatible with Mossberg 590 stocks, so the pistol grip can pop off and you can pop a stock on. Now, there are two models of this firearm. The first has the 14.75-inch barrel, which is kind of what we expect and want from these guns. Now, if you throw a stock on this, it's a short-barreled shotgun, but there's also going to be an 18.75-inch barreled model that comes with a pistol grip, but you could put a stock on and create a shotgun. Each gun holds 5 rounds in its tube. Both guns are optics ready, but they don't have the Holosun K-cut we see on the 940 Pro Tactical. I imagine they'll bring that out eventually, but for now it has the normal Mossberg setup to attach a mount and optic. Mossberg is also going to release a model with the Crimson Trace laser saddle. The 990 Aftershock was a ton of fun to shoot. Mossberg is not using the traditional Raptor grip. Instead, they designed their own, and it's absolutely fantastic. The forend of the gun features a strap, kind of like the Shockwave, but unlike the Shockwave, there's not 2 screws that dig in your hand, and you can actually tighten and adjust the strap. If you tighten the strap down, the gun becomes a lot easier to hold on to and a lot more fun to shoot. Now, I aim these guns. I'm not firing it from the hip like a sissy. And aiming this gun was really easy, hitting targets at, I think they were 10 yards. Again, really easy. We were just shooting birdshot, but it's surprisingly nice compared to a normal 12-gauge pump-action pistol grip only firearm. The semi-automatic gas-operated recoil system really chews into that recoil and makes the gun kind of a breeze to handle, at least easier. You do need a good push-pull still, or the weapon will kind of get away from you. Without having to pump the gun now, it's a lot easier to fire follow-up shots, and you can use the recoil and transition between shots as you come down. It's just a ton of fun to shoot. I'm not trying to make this a word salad, but I'm really excited to get an Aftershock in hand, and I actually spoke with Mossberg, and they are sending me one, so I'm pretty excited about that. IWI's Mafteah was probably the biggest surprise, and I am probably pronouncing that wrong. I know I was corrected about a dozen times on range day, but for some reason Hebrew in my mouth just doesn't work well together. Mafteah does mean key, and it comes from the Key of Solomon, so they are keeping with their kind of biblically named firearms with this gun. Now, I really didn't expect IWI, of all people, to release a semi-auto 12-gauge firearm, but apparently they plan to expand it from just a firearm into a full line of shotguns, including sporting and more tactical models. IWI does list the gun as recoil operated, and when I spoke to one of the guys at the IWI booth, he said it was inertia operated, although he also said that wasn't his bag. He was more focused on the Z25s, which were the long-range AR-10 pattern rifles. Now it's clear IWI took their time designing this gun. There's a lot of great features that I've never seen on other semi-auto shotguns, and one I really want to point out is the fact that the charging handle can actually be reversed and put on the left-hand side. I've always wanted that on a semi-auto shotgun, but I have never seen it. So, hats off to what's traditionally a rifle and handgun company for making a very innovative design on their 12-gauge firearm. The Mafteah is also optics ready, and instead of using a Picatinny mount, we have a removable strap that uses the Glock MOS pattern plates, which if you go to C&H Precision, you could get a direct mount optic, or at the very least get much better plates than what Glock offers. Up front, we have quite a few M-LOK slots, and we also have the same kind of strap that keeps the gun on your hand and easy to shoot. Additionally, a lot like Mossberg, IWI didn't go with the standard Shockwave Raptor grip. Instead, they designed their own, and much like Mossberg's, it's just a little bit better. It's a lot better than that old school grip. It seems like people are paying attention to what people do with these guns and designed a grip to fit. The Mafteah also holds 5 rounds of 2 3/4 12-gauge rounds, or 4 rounds of 3-inch. It does have a 3-inch chamber. One of the more unique aspects to the gun is that they added a vent rib to the barrel, which we don't normally see on these types of firearms. It's something we'd see on a sporting shotgun, but I don't hate it. It actually looks really slick and really nice. And I can't say what it reminds me of, but it does look like a gun out of like a 90s action movie, and I'm here for that. The Mafteah was a really interesting gun to shoot, and much like the Mossberg, it definitely took a lot of sting out of the recoil by going with the semi-auto action. The Mafteah does appear to be about 5 ounces to 6 ounces lighter than the 990 Aftershock, which isn't a big deal. But it's worth mentioning. I think if it is an inertia-driven gun, that's why it's probably lighter than the 990 with its heavier gas-operated design. So which is the better gun? Or which is the cheaper gun is what a lot of people are going to ask. So the 990 Aftershock has an MSRP of $1,120, whereas the Mafteah has an MSRP of $999.99. So they're both probably going to be available for less than $1,000, especially after the hype dies down after their initial release. I didn't shoot either enough to really tell if one's better than the other. For the 50 rounds I fired through each gun, both guns were very reliable. Both guns were a lot of fun to shoot, and both were very fast to shoot, with a lot less recoil than the pump action options. What I like about the Aftershock is that I trust Mossberg to make a good shotgun, and I like the fact that it's compatible with some 940 parts and some Mossberg 590 parts. That means there's a built-in aftermarket already. What I like about the Mafteah is the charging handle, and the vent rib on the barrel does look pretty sick, I'm not going to lie. Now my plan is to buy both and to review both, and hopefully in the coming months I will have a dedicated video on which does what better, and maybe I can help you pick, or you can do the really nonsensical consumerist capitalist thing and just buy both.